Hello YouTube, welcome back to Nutkin Farm. It's been a while since I made a video because it's been a while since I've been here. And you're looking at the little downhill stretch towards my dam, which doesn't overflow in all this rain we've been having, but it certainly gets a bit active. And the camera probably won't pick up the audio of my waterfall going. It leads onto Cooper's Creek. It's been flooding, just about every waterway's been flooding, and Lismore's been on the edge of flooding. What a difference between now and when I made the video complaining about the lack of water in the northern rivers. Well, the monsoon hit in January and it's been hitting ever since, with tropical lows coming through. Now what you're looking at is a freshly mown piece of grass, and that's what I've been doing ever since I got here. However, it's, as you can see probably, and I'll zoom in closer, you can see some skid marks. And yep, I made them with a bear claw tyre on my mower. Now, I had bear claws fitted to my zero-turn mower simply because of this gradient. Hard to appreciate, but it's a fairly steep gradient on these hills. Even in dry soil it was going for a slide every so often, but in the wet of course more so, because you can get some mud on the treads. And yep, I wouldn't call it the cleanest mowing job, but the growth in the grass was absolutely amazing in about the 1 month when I was away and I had relatives staying here. And I'll give you some idea in a minute, because I'm going to take you to an area of grass that is yet to be mowed. You can see over here, I mean it's just grass I suppose, but there's what grass called Ceterium grass, which is thick, tough, fast growing cattle grass, made for cows with 8 stomachs. That's about all it's good for. And last century this was a cattle farm, so it's not surprising that there is that cattle grass everywhere. And now here is part of what hasn't been mowed yet, and which I'm sort of not inclined to try till it gets a bit drier, because it is massive. It's chest high, nearly neck high on me in places, and there is heaps of it. It's swamped all the paddocks. Fair bit more of it to do. You can see some of it's near the house there as well. And there's those big seed heads, which is the sort of giveaway for the Ceterium grass. Plus the fact that it is difficult to cut. Got a very powerful mower, but you sometimes need to go over it 2 or 3 times to get those long, sort of almost woody stems up. And it's a challenge. In 1 month, that's how the grass got. Went from drought to that in 1 month. So it must have been growing roughly 6 inches a week, possibly even a little more than that in places. And that is, you know, when you've got a large amount to mow, pretty much unsustainable for someone who's not here the whole time. What I ended up finding was that in this particular time of year, my available time didn't always match the weather, because if you've got 3 days and it's raining, well, you can't mow when it's raining. Doesn't need much sun before you can get out and do some mowing, but particularly on slopes like this, it's a bit risky. You can go for a bit of a slide, and I certainly did a little bit of that yesterday. So to an extent I'm getting contractors in, particularly for the orchard blocks, because they need to be made ready for harvest just when the grass is growing the fastest. And if you do good orchard practices and you do have grass between your rows of trees, that's when you really have to sit on top of it. So yeah, it just became a matter of time versus resources, and it's one where I had to get in some contractors. They've been over the orchard, or most of it. They've got a little bit more to do. They've been borrowing my slasher for some of it too. And The residential and other bits, well, I'm going to do them myself. It'll take a couple of goes to get it tamed again. So it's exciting. There's nuts on the trees. We think they're about to fall in about early March, and that's when the first harvest pickup will be done. And you hope at that stage that there'll be some decent crop on. My agronomist predicts 15 tonnes. He's hoping for 20, but always best to under-promise and over-deliver, he says. Just something I've always agreed with. So I'm going with the promise of 15 tonnes. The macadamia suppliers are now just coming out with their offers, and the price has gone up. It was a standard offer by the leading nut processor, MPC, now known as Marquis. They'd come in at $5.40 last year for their base price on standard nuts. This year, $6. It's an 11% increase, which of course is way above the rate of inflation. It's a product of supply and demand, and on the supply side, the drought's going to cruel the crop a little bit. There'll probably be similar numbers of nuts, but some of them will be too small to be useful, and some will be lower quality, simply because the drought was present at the very time the nuts put on their oil accumulation and get nice and big in the shell. The rain you see now is great for the trees, and you can have a look at my house block over there. The trees are very nice and green and happy, but that happiness, if you like, can only really affect next year's nut, not the present year's. So all very good for next year's seasons, particularly because we're trying to get some food down and, you know, feed that flush that's coming. But this year's crop is effectively done and dusted, because we've got that the shell's been hardened, and you can't get more nut into a hardened shell. So what we've got, and that's really basically a drought crop despite all this rain. Now, speaking of rain, if you can see the clouds off in the horizon, there's probably a bit more coming. So I'm going to sign off and do a bit more mowing before the downpour. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you again next time.